Please.
I think we're back now. That's weird. Very strange. No, it wasn't flat batteries in this case. It was something happened with the USB subsystem. I mean, it's Linux after all. Alright. Still a little bit weird. And the exposure, I mean, honestly, it's like I'm looking into a thermonuclear something. The brightness doesn't help in this case. Let's see, gain, sharpness, backlight compensation. Does nothing. Just winding it down. There's got to be a threshold point here somewhere. I mean, yeah, I know my my lighting isn't that damn bright. God, I hate webcams. Yeah, that's too much. We'll have to sit with that. Okay. We'll live. Yeah, that's USB webcams for you. It's because I haven't got my proper HDMI camera set up. Oh well. Anyway, get my phone out of the way. We didn't need me showing off all my details there. Okay. Get that out of the way. Get that out of the way. Pop the chat out. We're going to do things a little bit differently tonight. Just for the start, I need to have a chit chat about the USB ports on Linux and how to basically solve the problem that annoys a great number of people like myself, or at least try to solve the problem. Yeah, try to solve the problem. All right. So there's going to be a bit of a phase here where it's like I'm not really responding to chat, and that's why. Anyway. All right. Let's see. Put the keyboard over there. This. Alright, so basically what happened today, I got my AdaFruit UPDI program, or UDPI program, hell if I can remember each time. And it turns out it's also running a CH340 type chip, just the same as the one that I made myself, which is also running a CH340 chip, as well as my USB-C meter and my compass sensor, and I have got other USB meter, the compass sensor. Anyway, the point is, I have multiple CH340 devices on this Linux computer, and one of the big problems that I run into is every time you restart the machine, there's no guarantee you are going to get the same ports back, like TTY, USB 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And that can play hell with your automatic startup scripts for things like this. Like, I mean, I have many devices up here, the multimeter, the USB-C meter, the compass switch and all this sort of stuff. And it's a pain if you have to manually go in and change things every now and then. So one of the big problems with Linux is you can't lock a fucking cars. Anyway, one of the problems with Linux is that you can't really, or you don't really assign a port to a specific physical location. Like you don't get TTY USB 0 at a particular port. It's really first come, first serve. And it's compounded by the fact that when you're running multiple chips of the same type, like CH340, which have no differentiating serial codes or anything except for a particular type of variant, I think it's the E model or whatever, which almost nobody has, it makes it hard for your software to be able to determine which device it's talking to, other than if you go in, lock the port, listen to the communications on that port, and then determine if it's the right one for you. That's fine if you've got a blind device that just spews out data, but it's a little bit harder if you've got a it's a little bit harder if you've got a SCPI type device where you've actually got to talk to it in order to get a response back. Anyway, the solution in Linux is to use the udev rules, and the trouble is that it's always been a bit confusing to me how to use them, but today I finally sorted it out. So I'm going to go into the terminal mode and show you what's done. Okay, so when you're in the terminal mode of Linux and you plug in a device, it will, as I said, give you a random assignment or a sequential assignment, but it's not always what you want. So if we go have a look at the and if we disconnect one of our programmers, we'll see that one disconnected from USB 1. We plug it back in again, and in this case it stays as USB 1. That's okay. But the problem here is that, as you can see, this is CH341 UI. I can do that to another port, and that was USB 3, plug it back in, and now that one's USB 2. And it's also a CH341. But there's no way of knowing which device got unplugged or anything like that. So what we need to do is, in our udev rules, which is the Linux way of basically sorting out the mess that they've left us, we can find out what port that unit is actually plugged into, like the actual physical hub, the position in your motherboard and things like that. So So I've got all mine now set up so that as I plug in devices, it symlinks the device to a particular dev name. So I've got dev USB-C Nort, dev Compass, dev UPDI, dev GDM 8341. The 8341 is a bit different. That's my multimeter. That's a different product. But it's still one that needs to be set up properly. The other three, though, we can see they are all 1A86 vendors, which is the CH341. And as you can see, same product attributes. So there's no way with just the vendor and the product that you can determine which one's which. Over here, though, in the kernels section, you'll notice that there's different numbers, and this is the part that allows us to differentiate which is which. And we can find out that code that is being used there by using this command here. So if we know what port it's attached to right now, we can then inspect it and find out what it's on. So okay, so we want to see what's on USB naught. And we can see, if you look at the device, we've got the driver here. This is the CP210. This is actually the multimeter. And we can see that it's connected up to this 121, 121. And that there is the physical sort of assignment. And that is the thing that doesn't change. Okay, here we go. Kernels 121. We don't have to take the whole thing, but just enough to differentiate it. And we can do that with, say, USB 1. Not sure. Okay, again, kernels 1222. And we just copy that unique identifier and put it into, and we can see it's that one here. And that's for, that's for the multimeter. God damn it. What the hell? Sorry, ignore me for a moment. What's going on here? We have a look at our compass one, which is pointing at 4. And yeah, there we go. 183 is what we were after. Driver 341. If we look up here, 183, and that's going to compass. So from now on in my software, I don't have to use like device TTY USB 4 or whatever it gets changed to. I just have to go compass 01. That name can be anything you like, as long as it doesn't clash with anything else. Easier if you make it descriptive. Anyway, so that's how you solve the problem with having multiple devices with the same driver chip, such as a CH341 or 340 or the PL2003 or the CP210. That's how you can make it that you can differentiate your different devices on boot without having to run around and keep adjusting the COM ports every time. We're back. That sucked. That sucked something horrible. I just couldn't do it. I might have to do that again or just on my own later. You people make me nervous. It's all your fault. Alright. Anyway, yeah, so that all started because when I bought this, I thought it was going to have one of the CH340s that had a unique ID or something in it, but it turns out it didn't. It's just the same as anything else I've used. So in a way, it's kind of like, you know, that's $20 that I didn't really need to spend. I had my clunky bodge job programmer here, which did the same job. Nice thing is, at least now, no matter what, whichever programmer I plug into this cable, which is plugged into a specific port on the computer, it will come up as the UPDI program, or device UPDI. So I won't have to botch around anymore when I'm trying to flash the meters or any other devices. I'll just know that I can always depend on that port, that device being available, instead of trying to find out which damn USB TTY it is. Alright, that's the boring blabber blabber bit. Now you've got the other boring blabber blabber bit. Because first we've got to do a couple of these. I know you guys hate them, but sucks to be you. Got to be done. And then we'll do the actual devices. And now I can get back to normal stuff here. How do I code without a numpad? To be honest, that is a compact keyboard that I just happen to put because it fits compactly on my workbench. I likewise do not like programming without a numpad, so your concern about what I'm doing, while understandable, is not actually something you have to worry about, because I definitely feel it as well. You know what, we're just going to do 4 tonight. I'm in no mood. None of my proper stock arrived today. All I got was that programmer, and it's like, hey, that's great, I've got a programmer. I already had one. It wasn't something I really needed. It was a nice to have for the future sometime. But you know that stuff always gets prioritized in postage and turns up when you don't even need it. Meanwhile, I'm desperately hanging out for my displays to arrive. But do you think they're anywhere around here? No sirree, they are not. Hey creature. Thank you, Pedro. You're a good sir in this particular instance. We're not going to talk about what you did down that alley the other night, though. There are witnesses, you know. Stealing that MacBook off that poor lady. So given the lack of displays, and more importantly in this particular case the lack of display connectors, we'll be doing ring lights again. And the lack of actual jobs to fix, which is actually starting to become a bit of a concern. It's like I haven't seen a proper MacBook repair job in nearly a week now, and that definitely gives me the heebie-jeebies. I mean, yeah, sometimes you go through dry spells, but this is getting a little bit ridiculous. So I guess I have to review my pricing, review my advertising, yeah, go through all that sort of stuff. See why I'm not picking up any customers. It's a competitive market out there. You know, I've got eBay offering similar sort of work for $50 to my $300 versions. And understandably, people are kind of like, well, why would I pay $300 for a $50 job? So, yeah, it gets a bit tricky. Yeah, obviously you want to remain competitive in the market, but at the same time you also don't want to bleed yourself dry. And it's all too easy to bleed yourself dry trying to be what you think is competitive. I'm just very thankful that I obviously still have a lot of local phone repair jobs, screen jobs, things like that. Most of my working life I generally have had at least three different kind of income sources or whatever. So in this particular case I've got MacBook repairs, and I've got local phone repairs, also local Mac repairs, though we don't get too many people in this town with Macs. And then I have the software world with Flexboard View, of course. And then if that's failing, then there's also what I'm doing now, which is back to the bad old manufacturing days. So I suppose the manufacturing thing is ramping up now. It's not really in full swing. It's ramping up now. And I'm not sure what it's going to take place of or supplant. As in, will it be supplanting MacBook jobs, or will it be supplanting phone repairs? The other thing is we've got a big shopping centre that's developing in town, and I would be a fool to not at least contemplate the possibility that a phone store will open up in there. It's happened before. We encountered the scenario, I think about 10 years ago now, where a phone store opened up in town for the purpose of doing screen repairs and things like that, and that did quite noticeably impact things. In this particular case, local is going to mean this town, so we're talking 5 to 8,000 people, depending on how far you want to push the boundaries. B-Blood, I find the problem though is that the universe has a really sucky way of deciding, you know what, you've got 3 income streams, that's really good. I'm going to make all 3 of them now sag on you. And you're like, what? Or all 3 rise up at once, and then you find you actually can't manage all 3 concurrently. Okay, we've got that 2 types of nylon heads here. We've got the shiny and the dull. Like I said, the shiny is harder, the dull is more flexible. The problem I have also is that because I am in the rural town, the small 8,000 person town, trying to get business out of Townsville is quite a bit harder, because they're kind of like, well, we've got 250,000 people here. Why the hell are we going to send our computer to some backwater place in the outback? We're going to find someone here in town rather than we're going to send it to you. So that's one thing I have to work against. Fortunately, in my favour, one of the former Apple authorised Apple agents in Townsville does direct people to me, and I'd say they obviously pre-warn them, sort of go, yep, this guy's in Charters Towers. I know it seems weird, but he's out there and he's doing this work, so send it to him. So that's actually quite handy, but it is something that I still need to get more exposure in town. It's just a constant, well, anyone who runs business knows, it's a constant battle. Okay, I've got 9, 8, 20, 15, 25. Where the hell did my 10 go? I'm always losing my 10. It ticks me right off. Yeah, B-Blood, I mean, that's just it. I'm trying to do the manufacturing during the lulls, and hopefully I can build up enough stock that when the other stuff rises up, I can just pull this stuff out of stock and go, there you go, shipped, good, done, rather than scrambling and go, oh my gosh, I've got to build 10 ring lights in 2 days. I mean, that is entirely doable, but you know what I mean. You don't want to have that extra pressure if you're particularly already under the pump with something else. B-Blood, I think the hard thing is trying to convey that in a sincere way that doesn't seem contrived. Yeah, because then again, who am I to judge what people react to or how they react to things? Because there's no denying that so many of the websites that I look at, and I think if there is no way you are going to get a real customer there, your site just, the way you write and everything, it just sounds like a really cheesy late night commercial. And yet they get them. They get them. They get them far more than I do. And it's like, I don't get it. It's like, who am I dealing with as a customer base? But I just can't make myself write that kind of cheesy crap. And once everyone else in the chat has a ring light, probably say, well, that is actually what is happening. So I've had the first wave of purchases of ring lights and USB meters, and now the real hard work starts, which is getting into the unexposed market, the market that doesn't know that these things even exist. And so I'm going to be relying a lot on exposure from the likes of Graham out of Adam IT. I'm handing these out to other people as well. Just trying to get some lost leaders. Thing is, I mean, when you send stuff to Rossman, he's got that exposure. He's already advertised. He's got the reputation, so to speak. So it's understandable that you can make that choice, whereas I'm sort of like an unknown. I'm very thankful that he actually does still, or at least I last checked, list me as an Australian kind of like agent or an Australian alternative for if you need a repair. And that's certainly brought in a lot of work in the past. But I've got to stop relying too much on the sort of charity situations, as it were. Charity situations being like Rossman directing people to me, my viewers who have already been watching me do this for a year and a bit in terms of developing the ring lights. I don't mean charity in a negative way, I just mean the fact that, okay, you guys are already sold on buying them without me having to sell, so to speak. And that gives you your head start, but after that, you've got to go out there and do the hard work. JDT is doing well. Joey does tech. When you say JDT, you mean like his channel, or is there something else that I missed? Call myself the greatest technician of all Queensland. Technically, I can actually say I'm the greatest technician of the world, because Charters Towers is known, or has a monkia, is that the right word? Of the world. And the reason why it has that, pardon me, is because during the gold rush era, Charters Towers was the central point for a lot of the exchange of gold. It was the stock exchange for gold. And so we got known as the center of the world. And so we still carry that monkia. And I could technically use it, and it would be technically correct. So I don't know. That's the kind of thing that maybe I have to do. Maybe I have to do that. But the thing is, then you've got to deal with the repercussions of that presume. You know that the customer is going to make certain assumptions, or presumptions rather. And when they say send in something that needs a T2 replacement, or a T2 plus NAND migration to another board, and I say to them, I can't do that, they're going to go, but you said you're the best in the world. And you're like, yeah, well, technically, and give them the story, and they're going to be like, whatever, we're out of here. That's the kind of thing that stalls me. Monica, yeah. You found me through Rossman complaining about my software. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I do watch JDT, yeah. Now I want to hear you pronounce monkey. There you go. Monkey. Monkey magic. Monkey magic. Yeah. One of those shows I was not supposed to watch as a child, but still snuck in some secret viewing of it without my parents knowing. You watching Monkey Magic? No, Mom. Of course, she couldn't ask me that because I was over at a friend's place after school watching it, where she couldn't tell that I was watching it. I'm sure she knew that I was doing that. Hey there, Q's. Any half reasonable parent would know that their kids are up to no good. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Yes, Pigsy, Sandy, the boy who looks like a girl, or is it a girl that looks like a boy, whatever, I don't know. That was our first introduction to ambiguous gender. Now you just watch TikTok and everything's ambiguous gender. And you're like, whatever, I don't care, it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't end up in my house and I'm not sure whether I should be excited or not. Damn it, I keep forgetting to set up a place to put the silk screened boards. Okay, we'll just put it there. Oh, when it comes to computer coding, yeah, it took a couple of days and then my mother probably got a complaint from my neighbour that I was always over there using their computer. And the complaint would have been most likely because I would have interfered with watching Days of Our Lives, General Hospital or something. And then again, to be honest, this particular neighbour was not the sort that would let me get away with that. She would be like, get off there, go home. I'm watching TV. It's my TV. You shouldn't be here. But instead, they were awfully nice. So that makes me think they mustn't have cared about watching TV. We're talking about the early 80s here. So it was a while ago. Or maybe mid 80s. I can't remember. I was a kid, for goodness sake. It was a woman playing Tripitaka? Oh, okay. But it was Tripitaka supposed to be a boy? I don't know. Or was that part of the whole twist? That you like find out at the end that Tripitaka's a girl and you're like, oh, but he's a monk. She's a monk. Girls can't be monks. Stuff like that. I don't know. Don't ask me. I was more interested in watching Battle of the Planets and wondering why I like Princess, even though she's a brunette. For some reason, I was always disappointed by the fact that she's dressed in all this white gear, white and pink, of course, but then she's a brunette, and I'm like, ugh. Shouldn't she be a blonde? Creature, this is fake Captain anyway. I was going to use aluminium tape, but it fatigues out too much and cracks and all that. But it's not doing a great job. I need something a little bit wider. I've got 3 layers there, and it's not quite holding up to the task. But it will suffice for the purpose for now. Okay, I feel like I've got something obstructing or lifting the... Ow, my wrist. There's something lifting or whatever. Reflow and rework solve everything. And yet there's nothing there. That's okay. Just got extra thick layer of solder paste. Why not? Oh, Teresa. Personally, I'm more the redhead ginger type. The crazy. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm married to one. To be fair, it's, toned down. I had to make some good choices in life. Was that a cat fight? Something's going on.
Luna was beating up poor little Mo.
Luna was beating Mo up. Oh, I see.
Such a jerk.
Ah.
And it was all just Mo with Luna.
You've been crying again.
I'm okay. But now she's awoken Judge Dredd.
Ah.
Thank goodness. She's so naughty.
Ugh. Bloody cat fights. In this particular case, it was between a mother cat and one of her boys. Seems like this mother cat, Luna, decides that she may have brought those boys into the world and therefore she can take them out of this world as well. Oh man, vacuum thing's been going the whole couple of days. Oh well. Oh yeah, naughty kitties is a subtle way of putting it. I'd sooner say colossal pains in the ass. Especially when you're just trying to get things done. And you're focusing on stuff and then you hear... And then of course you don't know. The problem we've got is we don't know if it's an outside cat causing the drama. I mean, it shouldn't be too much anymore these days since we put up the cat netting and all the other stuff. But for a very long time it was outside cats, so therefore we have the panic response whenever we hear that sort of thing. Straight into military mode, go out there and deal with whatever the hell's going on. It's going to take us a long time to come back down from that. Anyway, what was I missing before the big fight? Something about... I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Get on with building this stuff so that I can make $10 billion. Hey, Blind Bodger. Welcome. Blind Bodger is a rival from JDT. Is that right, Blind Bodger? I only met you through JDT, didn't I? Oh, no, wait. You know me from here anyway. Yeah, that's right. Sorry. Good old... getting confused, kicking into effect there. Sorry, Blind Bodger. I know you know me with all the cat stuff. Blind Bodger and I believe it's his wife, make really cool natural cat trees in the UK. Is that right, Blind Bodger? Yeah, they make them in the UK out of natural wood and all that. None of the chipboard crap that I've got to deal with here. I still didn't do anything with the cat house today, Blind Bodger. Looked at it and I was like, yeah, I've got to put that planking up, got to get that ship plank finished. But I didn't do anything. Oh, you're a Paul fan for JDT. Man, I suck when it comes to supporting my viewers. I was like, oh, you're from JDT. It's like, no, actually, I was from you first. I'm like, whoops. Yeah, don't ever expect me to give the right attribution to the right people at the right time. Oh, why is it always backwards? No matter which way I flip it, so many times I've got to give it the 180. That was close. No! Sometimes if you don't get the center, if you don't pick up in the center well enough, then as you're trying to move it over to where it's got to go, it pivots around because of just the weight distribution shift. And so you get to the destination ready to drop, but then the orientation's all messed up again. Only really happens on the SO8 type size things. Creature, why do you even watch these streams? They just traumatize you. Shouldn't you be working on your own stuff? You've got plenty of things you should be doing. I need poking with a stick. Oh, big time, yeah. Big time. I'd go so far as to say probably more like smacking over the head. I do somewhat blame the cats though. Like for instance, last night I'm finally getting some sleep. And I think about 4:30 in the morning I get a cat paw shoved into my mouth. And it's Loki waking me up saying, I want some biscuits. Just like... And if it's not in my mouth, then he's trying to poke my eyeball out. I don't know why that kid wants to do that. But yeah, it's either in the mouth or in the eye. It's like, will you stop that? And then if he feels like he's trying to be nice to me, he will flop down, he'll sort of nest in, yeah, if I've got my arm up, he'll nest in under there. Then straight away he gets his claws and he grabs onto my chest skin and he just goes, it's like, what part of that makes you think that I will want to let you stay there? I guess maybe he doesn't. I guess maybe he's thinking if I annoy you enough, you're going to get up and then I'll get my biscuits. Helps you code better, not rage too much about the bugs. Oh man, bugs. Wait, what are you doing producing bugs in your code? Aren't you supposed to just like be the perfect coder? Write it once, perfect. Write it once, compile, shipped. All in one swift move with creature. Alright, next board. I do like my lazy Susan here. Definitely makes it much faster for loading up the LEDs. Likewise was transitioning their orientation so that they all point in the same direction. One direction. Which is good because there's 28 of them and it gets real irritating after a while. You got to consider, I've probably got now about 10,000 of these LEDs. So I'm going to have to do this particular process, individual load and drop, 10,000 times. So yeah, you want it to be as reasonably easy as you can. Ha! That one actually was the right orientation this time. Yeah. Although with the lazy season of a restaurant, you do still have the social interaction of making sure that you're watching the other person to see that they've actually finished loading the food off the buffet bowls or whatever before you spin that sucker around. Or you can create mayhem by spinning it too fast. And watch the lack of centripetal action play out. Yes, I did say centripetal, not centrifugal. So what's creature's biggest grief here? Find a fault in the test, fix the test. What is it? When I find a fault in a test, fix the test which reveals the bug in the behavior of the DUT. What's the DUT? Oh, why no users complained? Yeah. Well, I can appreciate that in the sense that there are many a time I have found a glaring issue in my code. So much so that I'm like, how did this even compile, let alone run? And more to the effect of, why did no one even notice? Yeah, there's some magical marvels that go on sometimes. You're like, there is no way that that code worked. And yet somehow it did. And you silently ship out a new update. And it's only after you fix the issues that then people complain of other issues, and you're like, how did you not notice the big one that was there? Like the fact that it didn't even load. Yes, the world of software development is a painfully intractable one. At best, you can have moments of happiness, but typically it's just pain and waiting for the next support email to come through. Okay, Blind Bodger, you're thinking of Centipede, but yeah, sure. Glad to say I haven't watched that movie, but I know enough about it to know I don't want to watch it. Ach, niemand, get out of there. Right in there with the Saw movies. The world of software development got a lot worse after third gen. Third gen? What? Third gen what? Now you got me confused there. Thank you very much. What do you mean third gen language? I mean, I do remember plenty of people more than a quarter of a century ago saying this new language is going to revolutionize programming and eliminate the need to do anything like coding in C or Pascal or even have to use a database. I think one in particular that sticks in my mind was a product called Magic. Yeah, it turns out it really wasn't. So, oh, COBOL Fortran, that third gen or was that second gen? I consider C to be like, I mean, I still think C is kind of like the pinnacle of optimization of the balance between language complexity and but usability. C++ I think was a bit of a blowout. C++ to me really feels more like a classic second system syndrome language. Java was a whole lot of promise and painful inception. And then, of course, as far as I can tell, almost all the implementations of the Java system really just didn't live up to the hype. I think I spent more time adjusting Java code to work on different JRTs than I did with just simply writing it in C and recompile it on each platform. Yeah. These days, I'm more than happy to write C++ified C code. So basically, I'll put CPP on the extension of my code, but it's predominantly C, and then I'll steal things like, vectors and strings out of C++ to make my life easier. Because certainly, when it came to C, the omission of handling text strings was definitely something that was felt keenly. I always found it interesting that C does have a queue-sort built in for the most part. It was like, okay, that's one really good useful function there. Could we have more of those? And it's like, oh no, this is C, we can't let you have any more of those sort of good things. That was just our one good one that we were going to let you have, and I'm sorry, if you want more, you do it yourself. I think probably because so many people would end up just going, you know what, stuff it, I'm just going to rely on the CPUs getting better, and I'm going to do all my sorting using shell sort or bubble sort. And I think the powers of the world decided, we can't let that happen, so let's just put queue sort there, make it nice and easy, and we'll head off that global disaster before it happens. Fortran first gen, you consider that first gen? I guess things like language generations or levels, is it first, second, machine level, whatever. I suppose it's very difficult to describe. I mean, it's fine, you can define it as you want, but it doesn't mean that everyone else will agree with that definition either. I mean, Java was a great concept. The whole... Good God, man, I've just dropped that resistor around. The whole compile to bytecode once and then, run it on the bytecode virtual machine. But it just didn't deliver the goods until too late. I mean, I was trying my darnest to make it work in the commercial platform that I was with at the time. That was back in 96, 97. Actually, maybe it was 98. I don't think Java quite got out before then. And I just couldn't make a good case for it. On the other hand, when PHP showed up, it was like, yep, that's it, party's over, PHP wins the internet now. And that was it. It was like, pfft. And for as much as people decry its very lackluster security model, being a C programmer, it was like, I don't see the problem here. So it seems normal to me. Yeah, PHP, in my opinion, was the thing that moved the world from boring HTML3/4 model into something that was good. That, and as much as I hate it, probably MySQL, even though I am not a fan of MySQL. I was originally, but I very much prefer Postgres. What is going on here? Oh, there we go. Just couldn't find the hole. Perl. I did try so hard with Perl. Perl and I we didn't get along. We just didn't get along. I think half the problem I had with Perl is the fact that I grew up on one flavor of regular expression syntax, and then Perl came along and said, hey, we're going to do things a little bit differently. And it wasn't that badly different, but it was enough badly different that I would stump my toe on it more than enough times to completely make me just hate it. It was like, that's it, I'm done with PCRE. Done with you. And just to make everyone throw up, I actually don't mind JavaScript. People are like, no, it's been taken over by brain slugs. Nobody can like JavaScript. I mean, sure, if you want to talk technical about things like can't do its own lambdas and all this stuff, if you want to get into being one of those people, fine. I like to just code stuff. It's like, okay, can this language do this for me? Yes, no, great, no, whatever. Yeah, I'm not one to get down to that sort of level of pedantry. And yeah, I'm glad there are people who can do that, because they are people who develop the languages further. Most times. But for me, not my thing. For me, JavaScript seems perfectly fine, particularly now that we have jQuery. I think once we put that jQuery layer on, jQuery to me is kind of like the PHP of JavaScript, so to speak, on the client side of things. So on server side, PHP, client side, jQuery. I'm sure there's a lot of developments since that I don't know about it. But at some point you have to start coding with what you know, as opposed to trying to keep learning the very latest thing. The only time I now generally have to learn the latest thing is if what I'm trying to do no longer is supported, or if there is something that is really cool that I really want to know how to do it, that will compel me. Hey there, Graham. Good to see you there. Just making up these little lights. Nice for you to watch me do the building this time, rather than me watching you put all those slime blob things. Is that what it is? So what is the slime blob thing? I mean, so is it like a virtual reality where you just appear like a blob of slime? Hexaboard, I like jQuery a bit like the way I like C++, in the sense that it can make it easy to do things without having to get overly complicated in some areas. Like with C++, me wanting just to use vectors and strings for the most part. Yeah, there are certain snippets of jQuery that are very handy. Particularly the fact that you can make you don't have to worry so much about, am I running on Internet Explorer or whatever they call it now, Opera, Firefox, whatever, you know, that whole removal of the platform-specific bullshit. God help me for having lived through the Internet Explorer 6 era. If you didn't live through the mid late 90s, where Internet Explorer was dominant, and trying to deal with the absolute bucket loads of bullshit that you had to write just to deal with the fact that, okay, 90% of the world's using Internet Explorer, but we don't like that, so we're going to try and help these other guys like Opera and Firefox get ahead. It's just a freaking nightmare. Graham, not a programmer, but based on hobby stuff, where to start is just to start. Yeah, exactly. If you've got that project to help pull you through the difficult parts, if you've got that want to finish, to get a end solution, it's definitely what you need to make you learn things. It's kind of like me with my desire to learn Chinese, Mandarin and Chinese, because I want to be able to understand what certain people are saying. Yeah, well, isn't Edge now based on Chrome anyway? So I think Microsoft eventually has conceded and said, you know what, okay, well, our bad, we tried to do it our way, but didn't work out. I mean, you expect companies to do that. They want to try and dominate, set the standard, because it's easier that way. I only kind of wish that I'm waiting for Windows to become a wrap around Linux. Yes, for the AliExpress stuff. That's what it's for. Safari is Safari is I don't know what Apple's going to do about that. It really does look like it needs a serious overhaul. B-Blood, that is true. It does help a lot. And when I lived over in South Africa, picking up Afrikaans and a few other languages, it wasn't too bad. Trying to learn it at, in your own room with a laptop at strange hours of the morning, you sort of can do it, but it is hard. Jim, with your tabs thing, I gotta admit, I've been a bit bad with tabs lately, particularly when I've been going through AliExpress and I'm trying to find the best. I'm trying to find a particular product and there's like 10 different variants, so I'll pop open all 10 and go through and check them. And often when you're looking through those 10, you'll click on something and you'll get, all of a sudden you've got 20. So yeah, I'm sort of suffering a bit to that tab explosion myself. Every now and then I'll just go mad and close up 90% of them. JDT's live. What's he doing live for? He's early. JDT needs to show a little respect for the elders. Anyway, Graham, the ring lights and everything, it's all ready to go. So, by the way, some people are going to hate me for this, but I've found a way to actually not need to pay shipping now. Or at least you don't have to pay shipping. Don't you worry about shipping. Let me worry about shipping. So yeah, basically it's kind of like a $15 discount now. Free shipping on all orders. And I did find a 200 by 200 hot plate for a good price and good shipping, so I need to order that, but I need more people to order these so that I can order my new hot plate. So what's Joey fixing or breaking today? about you, Graham? What are you fixing or breaking? Okay, why are you way drifted over here? You shouldn't be that badly off. Okay. Jim, unfortunately I can't do everything, can I? Sad limitation of being a human being. It's true, Graham, it is true, and that's kind of, part of the process. He's talking about kettles? Really? Sokolov, you need 60mm diameter? What sort of microscope have you got? That's some big optics you've got there. That's what she said. Yeah, seriously, that's a pretty big diameter. What do you got, an Olympus or something else? Your MacBook screen's replaced. 1502, that does not charge. With those screen replacements, Graham, are they like the old MagSafe type ones, or are you dealing with the new USB-C ones? Because, yeah, the new ones can be a bit of a nightmare. That said, the 1502 series is a nightmare. Likewise, the 1398 is a nightmare. Yeah, when it comes to screen replacements, I basically just walk away. Well, telescope's not going to have a flippin' ring light, that's for sure. It's a cheap one, SE400Z. Oh, you've got the one that doesn't... Yeah, okay, I know the one you're talking about. It's got the rectangular aperture viewport. I know the one you're talking about. To be honest, if you can find a way to upgrade to the normal AMScope ones, it will be well worth it. If it's something that is worth investing into for yourself, yeah. But yeah, I know the SE400Z. With that one anyway, you're probably perfectly fine with a dual gooseneck type one, because you're not really moving it around that much. That's the other thing I was waiting on today. I wanted my new circuit boards for the integrated compass plus power switch assembly. I really want to get that because I want to cut down on my USB cables, and I want to see if it might be a product that people may want to actually buy. Joey says he's going to be breaking everything. Well, that's very Joey. Looks like he's doing nothing different today. Watch out, APUs. Joey's coming for your pads. Yeah, I'm thinking with the compass, integrated compass switch system, it could be useful for people because it doesn't need a computer, at least the way I'm planning on doing it. It doesn't need a computer. You can have it connected to a computer, but you don't need it to. And it will just allow you then to have your microscope ring light turn on or off depending on whether you've got it swung in or out, without having to set up anything mechanical other than just mounting it onto your microscope. The mount's going to be the tricky part, but then we've got 3D printers now, so that solves a lot of issues. Something just dropped on my crotch and I have no idea what it was. Okay, fortunately it was just that. Panicked then for a minute. I thought it was going to be something extremely hot and unpleasant. Turns out it wasn't. Type-C MacBook Pro, no True Tone. Okay. That's not true. I'm pretty sure Caradog would care about True Tone. You know what Caradog's like. He will care about it. Okay, that's the hot one. That's a very hot one. Yeah. Okay. Try not to do that too many times. Okay, let's have a look. Bridged. Flippin' LA. Crikey, Harry. It's bridged again, mate. Alright. It's fine. Bridges are easy. In fact, I'd much rather have them all bridged than it being offset. Offset is the hard one to fix because I've got to put it back on the hot plate. Bridging is easy to fix. I'm going to leave balls attached to the LEDs so that people can pick them off themselves. Yeah, give them the pleasure of a bit of picking off their own balls. It's basically I'm providing a reballing kit with every LED light. I mean, that's pretty thoughtful of me, don't you think? Even though there's no BGAs on this one. And there's various sizes too. You got a 2289. Oh, hell, man. Yeah. 2289. Yeah. I've got one of them here, needs a new top deck. I tried quoting the person out of interest in it. I said, look, that's going to be $550 at least. And they come back and go, yeah, okay, alright. And I'm like, damn it. Sometimes you really just don't want to do a job and people still force you to do the job. They call you on your bluff. You kind of want to tell them, you're like, no, you were not supposed to go with that. The legs that don't look connected, they are connected. It's just a very small fillet. They're definitely connected on the underside, I can assure you. It's just there's not a large fillet on top side. The real soldering connection is the one that's underneath. I'm using hot air here. It's only 230. It's just enough because this is an aluminium plate. It's just enough to stop that plate taking all the heat away from the soldering tip. If I try and clear those bridges without the hot air assist, it'll just sort of turn into like a Joey 5-cent type soldering job. That poor bastard. Someone should have advised him about the type of soldering iron and heat he's going to require to do that modification that he did to the GPU. Then again, maybe he did know and he just didn't care. Wow, that one bridged too. Jeez. Circle off, yeah, that's good practice to have. Depending on the RAM, some of them can be a real pain. Like there's some that are used on the A1466 and they've got a ridge that runs up the middle of them. And it makes it a complete pain in the backside to use with a stencil. The stencils you get will have a recess for it, but it's still a nuisance. Okay. Alright, let's try and let's try flash these now with the new programmer, and hopefully things don't go kablam. Although to be fair, any time that things go blam and catch on fire or smoke, it usually means I'm going to get a 10,000 view clip video out of it. On the other hand, if things go normal, then nobody cares. Okay, oops. Let's see, microscope light. Let's see, PLD, MS LED. Okay, for the final time, I'm changing. Here, I'll show you this with the port thing. So, like, I had TTY, USB, blah blah blah. But now, because I've got the new udev rules in there, I can just go UPDI, or is it UDPI? Why do they make these complicated? Let's just try one with the view script. Yep, there we go. Works fine. No problem at all. Go above. So now it doesn't matter if this gets unplugged and then plugged back in again. It's still going to always come back to that same device name. Which, believe me, makes it a lot easier, because I got sick of having to get into that script file, shell file every time to adjust according to whatever the system decided to boot into as its COM port. Okay, brightness test now, see if anything goes bang. Oh yeah, that's bright. Full brightness. Okay, that's good. Good. Oh, that didn't fire off. Okay, there's a problem on that one. And holy shit. Alright. This one's got a quadrant failure, that one's a complete failure. This is going to be like the worst night ever. I'm going to guess either I've got one of these backwards, because they are in sequence. Okay, no, that quadrant's fine. Alright, looks like somebody gets an apology here. That one actually is not soldered. So I do apologize. Most of the time, they're fine, but this one is definitely not fine. Yeah. Graham's going to ride me on that one. That's fine. Quick and easy fix. At least that one's just a quadrant failure and not a complete failure. Creature can go suck it. As you can see from above, it doesn't necessarily look like that was an issue. And that was the one that I didn't have, there was no bridge to clear, so I didn't end up swiping it. Hey there, Christian. That looks connected now. Let's try this again. Okay, yeah, we've got all our quadrants back. Good job. And now we've got to find out why this one isn't running at all. How did I not see that bridge? Yeah, how did I not see that bridge? Is the 0 ohm there works a fuse? Not in this case. I mean, it will if you have to, but it probably wouldn't blow anyway. It's too big. Oh, it depends which one you're talking about. There's this one, and then there's this one. This one, both of them though, the only reason why they are there is because this being an aluminium board, you don't have a second layer. There's no two, this is a single side board. So if you do need to get across some tracks, then you have to use 0 ohm resistor or some other method. Stream of rain, yeah. Closely related to smooth brain. Next thing you know, I'm going to be starting wearing cat ears and dancing on TikTok. Or Chatterbait? No, definitely not that. Yeah, because, like I say, it's just simply there's a thin isolation layer on top of the aluminium, and then they put down the copper or whatever it is. I don't know if it's copper or something else. But while you can put holes through the aluminium board, you can't put a veer through it as such, unless you just want to go straight to ground, and then yeah, good luck. That is probably one way you could do it. You could make everything ground as the second layer. Anyway, so yeah, that's why those 0 ohm resistors are there. Programmer's socks get you nice stripy high thigh. Ooh, yeah. Alright, we're alive. Whee! At least I know how to have good lighting. All good. Okay. Now the final stages of assembly, and soon I will be able to relax. Looks like I'm already running out of my 1.7 screws. That's not good. I've ordered another 1,000, but who knows when they're going to get here. Yeah, Stephen W. They certainly require a bit of a different... what am I hearing in this house? They do require a bit of a different handling. Which is why I've been reflowing them on the hot plate rather than in the oven. Because I found in the oven, while they do work, the hot plate seems to actually work a little bit better. But for the USB-C meters, the oven's definitely, with the FC4 boards, the oven's definitely the better choice. Now, 0 ohm resistors are one of those things that at very first glance, when you're getting into this stuff, you kind of think, why the hell do they have 0 ohm resistors for? What's the point of that? And very quickly you realize they're actually an extremely handy thing to have. Either so you can isolate parts of your circuit for testing, or for jumping over traces if you don't want to go for the expense of an extra layer, or as really cheap, nasty fuses like Apple. Hey, Godfrey Allen, welcome. Nice to see you. We're slowly picking up the numbers on this channel. I think we're only at about 320 subs today. It's kind of crazy that you basically only see 1% of your subscriber base in most cases. As to what the other 99% of your subscriber base is, who knows? But you seem to basically have this 1% of active people within that. Well, Pro, yeah, I mean, they did hold on to it for a very long time, and a lot of that was because of the desktop dominance of Windows, of which, of course, was driven predominantly by the Office suite. So, yeah, I mean, there's no denying that. The trouble is that they just certainly didn't make it easy for anyone else to step into that space. And it was getting a little bit frustrating. And also, what didn't help at that time is when we were trying to do things like SSL, secure website stuff, getting Mozilla or getting any sort of Mozilla-based product to support SSL. That in itself was a nightmare. I mean, there were guides and all that. So it wasn't then until distros started actually packaging pre-built SSL support into the browsers that it really sort of took off there. I can't remember. I think it might have been Knoppix. That was one of the first ones that did that. Anyway, what do we got now? Heat sinks, right. Flippin' heat sinks. It's kind of sad that Firefox / Mozilla have sort of fallen to the wayside in many ways. But I really do tend to blame that on the whole open source sort of mentality that they have. Not for being open source, but just the type of people that partake in those sort of consortiums / organizations and all that. They have a bad habit of completely ignoring what the world wants and then just having this great big circle jerk of what they think is technically marvelous or whatever. Yeah, they completely, I shouldn't say completely, but they sort of detach from reality, particularly when they're being paid big sums of money from the likes of Google, Alphabet, whatever. And then, people move on. So, like, even though Google's given them a bunch of money, they still couldn't produce a product that kept up anymore. Honestly, I just see them or imagine them sitting around going, look at this, I created perfect this, I saved this many bytes by doing this. Oh, it's so brilliant. Meanwhile, the world goes on without them. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being kind of harsh there, considering that as a kid, I was what back then would have been considered nerdy because we didn't really have the word geek at that time. And I would be routinely beaten at school and everything like that. I've got a split across my eyebrow, a permanent split and damage, because this great big Samoan football player saw me coming out of the computer lab after lunch or something like that. He was drunk. And he just grabbed me and headbutted the hell out of me. I stood my ground, but it wasn't much use. I mean, it was like a toothpick versus a hurricane. He was a football player. And I got sent off to hospital to get that sorted out. But, I was the nerdy kid. But you also got to know when your brilliance, I'm talking about, say, the people doing all the development for Mozilla and stuff like that. You got to know when your brilliance is actually getting in the way of a product being successful. And I'm sure anyone who's been in a programming team will know that there is that at least that one person who effectively drags the project to the ground, is like a massive boat anchor, all because they want to be pedantic about something that really has no relevance. It's just more like their way of asserting, validating themselves, I suppose. And they can be extremely detrimental to projects. They can be absolutely brilliant people to have, absolutely brilliant people, but you have to have a second person for them to manage them. Because if you don't manage them, they will drag your project to the ground. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to the likes of Mozilla, or whatever the group. Just because you can think of something brilliant doesn't mean that it's actually right for the task. And it can be difficult to argue against that sort of thing because, like I said, on the technical merits, it may all be correct. It ticks all the right boxes, blah, blah, blah. But you also know in your heart that it's like, this is not right. And I know it's not just programming projects, but yeah, that's my experience anyway that I'm drawing from. You get these multi-million-dollar like accounting systems. Yeah, they're a nightmare at the best of times. And then you get these people that basically put a complete stop to good progress because of technically irrelevant type things. I think one book I did like reading was The Mythical Man Month. That was a good read. It illustrates a lot of issues that come with software development and why, even after all these years, we still can't actually really beat the clock too much. More often than not, we're going to be behind schedule, overcost, all that sort of stuff. And we're always going to be having these trip-ups, these oversights, the gaps in the gaps between what the customer expected versus what you implemented and things like that. So it's a good book to read. The Mythical Man Month is what it's called. So yeah, there's a lot of toxicity in politics in the free and open source communities. Yeah, I guess because it kind of goes with the territory in a way, doesn't it? Because it's a very like open environment. You know, we're not in a commercial environment. You're not necessarily driven by the dollar. And in some ways, I think the fact that you're not necessarily driven by the dollar is why it gets out of control. Even worse if someone is feeding you dollars. So if someone is keeping your lights on, keeping your fridge full, paying your mortgage or whatever, if someone's funding you and you don't have a commercial push behind you to get things done, then it does tend to breed all sorts of weirdness. Yeah. Eric S. Raymond, yes, I do believe it was Eric S. Raymond, that's the one. But yeah, Mythical Man Month. It's a good read, and it applies to a lot more than just programming too. Yeah. Alright, that's it for tonight. What are we at? 15 minutes to midnight, so I've kept with my usual schedule, which is to try and keep it under 2 hours for the night. I think I'll probably redo my serial port udev rules thing tomorrow when I'm not sitting here watching everybody looking at me. So, alright, I'm out here. I might go see what Joey Does Tech has blown up, and well, hopefully tomorrow I'll have some more interesting packages arrive. Otherwise, it's keep on building ring lights and keep on building USB-C meters and keep on complaining. So, I'm out of here. You all take care. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me blabber on. I'll catch you next time.